Welcome to this episode on the Health and Happiness Show, where it's my mission to change your mindset so that you can live a healthy and happier life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's go. Hey guys, it's Ollie here with a special edition on the Health and Happiness Show, where today I am joined by a great friend and former client, Carly Wicks. I had the pleasure of coaching this lady just a few years ago when I was working as a personal trainer in Cornwall. And during our time together, Carly lost a ton of weight and transformed her mindset. However, Carly's world was soon turned upside down when one of her best friends and my next door neighbor was diagnosed with cancer and later passed away. I believe all we can do in these situations is find the light in the darkness, and thankfully, this is exactly what Carly did. Learning how quickly life can turn for the worst, Carly realized she wasn't living her best life and took the plunge to pursue what meant the most to her, traveling. Carly, with her husband James, bought a motorhome and would soon spend the next 8.5 months traveling around Europe, seeing 26 countries and making lifelong memories. Today, now back in home in Cornwall, Carly's adventure hasn't stopped. In fact, it's just begun as she ventures into a newfound passion of personal training and life coaching. It is therefore with great pleasure and excitement to welcome my great friend to the show, Carly Wicks. Carly, how are you?
Really good. Thank you so much. That's a gorgeous introduction.
First of all, is it jam first or cream first?
Oh, this is really horrendous, but cream for me.
I'm tempted to end the podcast there, but for politics, we'll leave that question for now.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna go into. It's pretty cool. You've traveled 26 countries in 26 countries in 8.5 months. What was your favorite country?
We've had this question a few times, and my favourite is Montenegro
Mm.
because we didn't even know we were going to go there. It wasn't part of the EU at the time, so it was quite tricky to be able to go there. And then we just went for it, and we only did a very short time. I think it was like 5 days, but it was just stunning, really unspoilt, beautiful, really varied. And my dad's family are from Yugoslavia, Serbian. So actually, it felt like we were driving around, and all the women looked like my older sister. I was like, "Hey, she looks like Emma. Oh, she looks like Emma." Like my sister and I looked really different, and all the women out there were like dark hair, really strong features, just like my older sister. It just felt beautiful being there.
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely a place I want to see. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you went around Europe and okay, so that was your favorite country. What was your least favorite country?
Oh, really? You really want me to say this?
Yeah.
um, just because of the amount of times I cried, I would have to. It's also one of my favourites, but it's also my least favourite. Is Italy. Italy is a stunning country. So much to see there. Like if you want to do touristy stuff, it'd be like my number one recommendation. However, in a 3.5 ton, well, larger than nearly 4 ton motorhome, it is the most stressful thing you can ever do in your life. And I didn't even do the driving. Like, I don't know how James didn't have a heart attack. He had quite a few nosebleeds, I must admit, from the stress. Like, if you've ever been to Italy, it's very jam-packed. The streets are very difficult to navigate down, and the Italian drivers are mental. So in a huge motorhome, it was the most stressful thing I've ever done. And I think I had many panic attacks and cried lots. And like I say, James had many nosebleeds, but it was also, we had the most amazing time there at the same time.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I can't say I've ever driven in Italy, so I can't really comment there. But hey, I mean, you gotta love a little bit of a challenge. That's fantastic. How was traveling as because I guess like I mean I've been to a couple countries, but like I haven't done the traveling, so to speak, right? And yeah, like what did you like? Some people obviously go traveling to find themselves, to rediscover themselves. Was that a part for you in your traveling experience? or was it just pretty much an extended holiday, which you made a ton of memories and had great fun?
Right, it is not an extended holiday. Traveling in a motorhome is stressful, right? Let's just get that clear. We didn't do it to find ourselves. It was very simply, I had quite a few traumatic life experiences, with two failed IVF attempts. I'm going to be like totally honest with you now, and a failed adoption assessment. And then, as you mentioned, Lydia passed away at like the age of 36, just horrific. And even though I thought I loved my career, and in a way I did love my time in education, and I loved the 5 years that I was a primary school head teacher, but it finally, Lydia passing away just made me realise like life's too short. And I just thought, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to be ahead till I retire. I can't sustain this. Horrific work-life balance. There was no balance at all. And so eventually I was going to begin to pursue a new career, and I've always wanted to travel. I did a little bit of traveling when I was younger, like a tiny bit. And I just said to my husband, we were driving up to Buckinghamshire to see family for Christmas must have been like Christmas Eve or something, might have even been Christmas morning, can't remember. And I just said, should we go traveling? So my husband, like, obviously was just like, hell yeah, but like, I doubt this is going to happen. So then we obviously started talking about the practicalities of it, and that was it. I just remortgaged the house, bought a motorhome, and yeah, we left in January 2019. So it was just a life too short moment. So it was nothing to do with kind of finding ourselves. It was absolutely life changing, and I learned so much about myself. It's unreal. But that wasn't why we did it. We did it literally for the experience and to travel. And it was just, yeah, incredible.
See, I think what I love about that so much is it would be so easy for someone listening to this to go, but I can't just leave my job. I can't just remortgage the house. I can't. And that is a mindset at the end of the day. And actually, you and James thought, do you know what? Why not? Like, why not? And, you know, as always, my whole philosophy is about finding the positive in the negative. And, you know, it was only obviously recently Lydia's anniversary. And, you know, if maybe that was a positive that could come out of the most negative situation, then that's incredible. Now, I remember back to when we were personal training, you know, you openly expressed about the IVF, and if you feel comfortable talking a little bit about it now, I want to dive deep into the mindset that you acquired as a result of that, because really, like, when people say, you know, how do you create a positive mindset, and, you know, how can I change? Well, really, it's a lot of people's past experiences, and like, I don't think I've got a particularly good mindset. I just know that with the experiences that I've faced, I've managed to change the perspective on them and find that positive in the negative. So with the experiences that you've gone through, failed adoption, IVF, and losing one of your best friends, how have you overcome those experiences?
I think generally I was kind of raised to look at the positive side of things. And like my mum and dad, who are like polar opposites and no longer together, they split up when I was about 3. They both have massively contributed to me just then developing a positive mindset and outlook on life anyway. And they both have very different outlooks on life, but together, both quite controversial views. It's just kind of like enabled me to have a positive mindset. However, when you go through something horrific like the IVF, and I always wanted to have children, like my older sister and I were like opposites again. She was the animal person and I was the people person. And she never wanted to have babies, and I always wanted to have babies for as long as I can remember, have children. And so to then realise and I always had a little niggly feeling that I might not be able to have children. I don't know if that's just a bit of a natural thing for a woman to do in case they can't, I don't know. But I kind of like set myself up that maybe I couldn't, which is bizarre actually. It's a very strange concept that I had that niggly feeling. I sometimes wonder and question myself, has that contributed to me not being able to have children? Anyway, and long story short, James and I decided to try for children, and nothing happened. And then looked into IVF, and had a really successful first session, and got to like implantation stage, and then lost it all, and then paid for a second attempt, because in Cornwall you can only have one attempt for free, which I felt was like a massive injustice. I was so angry about that. Why should, if I was still living in Buckinghamshire where I was born, if I could have 3 free rounds up there, why can I only have one now that I've chosen to live in Cornwall? So I was really angry about that. But you have to move on from that, because anger only makes yourself unhappy. It doesn't help the situation or solve it. So then we paid for the second attempt, and then unfortunately that was unsuccessful. We got all the way to the end again, and that was unsuccessful. And I was, to be honest, really angry at the time. Like I've never been an aggressive person. Like I'm quite strong-minded and quite bossy, but I've never been an aggressive person. And I became quite angry. Like I remember like slamming doors and being physically quite like cross. And I didn't bother like ever having the counselling that you can have after that. And I kind of wish I did. I think I would have accepted it all better if I had. But then as time goes on, you just move on from it. And I do strongly believe like we couldn't have children for a reason, like that, every single kind of difficult life experience leads on to something else and leads on to the next part of your journey, your life journey. And it did that for us. And even the failed adoption, which was an extremely intrusive process, when that finally failed, like the last hurdle, again, we were both so cross and angry. And me, I'm a teacher. How can I not adopt? Of all the people, like, how can I not adopt? But again, you have to move on from it. And if it wasn't for all those awful things and Lydia passing away when she did, that would never have led me onto giving up my career and going traveling and then pursuing a new career now. I know I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't had those horrific life experiences.
Yeah, like I mean, it's deep and it's raw, and like, I can only imagine how that must have felt with those setbacks. It's hard, like it's probably hard now still, and it was really, really hard back then. And just the only way that I can relate this is to my health, and I would ask, why me? Why me? And I'm sure you've probably asked the question of why me back then, and you'll never discover the answer then, right? But then like later down the track, whether it's a month, a year, 10 years, things do start to make sense. And I think one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you onto the show today is because you have now found that moment. As I opened up earlier, like you are now pursuing a newfound passion, which maybe you were destined to follow all this time. And actually part of your teaching experience as a head teacher of a primary school has led you to this moment where actually, you're not only able to share your teaching skill set, but actually be emotive and empathetic in terms of life circumstances. And actually, when it comes to coaching, it couldn't be any less about the training, the nutrition, right? It's not about the training. It's not about the diet someone follows. It's not about the exercise plan. It's actually about progression. It's about moving someone forwards to what I believe is a healthier and happier life. And you will now be able to relate on a level with people that you can't teach, you can't get a qualification in. So those life experiences, as hard as I can only imagine they must have been, will serve you so well and have made you already the coach that you are today. And plus you have 3 gorgeous baby dogs, one of which I can see in the background. And
one of which is growling.
Trust me, trying to record a podcast with animals, particularly dogs, is hard work. And I sort of pray during these recordings that the door isn't going to go, because Monster will awaken. And and there is one baby now. I will release the video, and everyone can appreciate the beauty. Who's this?
This is Pixie.
Pixie.
This is the second one, and our only girl. And she's a proper little princess. Look at her face. She just has a princess face.
I mean, Dogs like
This is the baby. This is Bentley,
Bentley.
and
And where's
big
number
as
three?
he's as big as Pixie, and he's like this was a terror. And Rocky, who is my like soul connection. Not that that makes any sense, but our souls are connected for sure. This is my
100%.
first one.
Yeah, I remember Rocky. I remember Rocky when I was in Cornwall. That's amazing. Ah, beautiful. That was so funny then. Just you each time you dip down as the camera, you'd pick up a new. How many more have you got in the living room there? Yeah, dogs are amazing. Like, I mean, like, parenting it includes animals as well. I don't think it's different in that sense. Of course it's different, but you're responsible for the care of the animal, and I know how much Monster means to me, and I'm sure your dogs mean the same to you. So let's talk a little bit about the new career that you're entering into. So you're going down the personal training route, which I know a little bit about in the last 10 years, and you're going into the sort of like life coaching mindset space as well, which ties in really well to what you've learned and your life experiences. So how has that transition been? Because I can tell you now, there will be listeners who are sitting on the fence to making that career change. Because here's the thing, right? Like I'm really strong in my values in terms of like, if something isn't making you happy in life, change it. Because if you don't change it, then you're wasting time. And if you're wasting time, then you're wasting your precious gift of life. So the fact that you're taking this step right now, I admire you and I applaud you. And I almost thank you as well, because actually you're doing something which means a lot to you. And not many people, most people will never have that courage. So how has that transition been for you? And yeah, like tell me a little bit about that.
Sorry about like dipping in and out of the camera. I
You're
put
great.
Rocky like set up on the windowsill so he can guard the house. So I put him up there after showing him to you, and then I realised my windows are wide open. So I was like, yeah, I need to pull them too.
No, better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Um, so like giving up the career, like all I've ever done is studied. So I went straight from high school, did the GCSEs, the A levels, straight to university, then did my PGCE and went straight into my career in teaching. 20 years I've been in teaching now. So when I gave that up to go traveling, and at that point I didn't think I was going to come back. In fact, I think I more or less told people I would never go back to the profession. So that was massive. Just leaving because I felt like I'd failed. I felt guilty for leaving because I had some really, really good friends working for me who I'd like headhunted. So I felt guilty for leaving them behind, and them having to adapt to a new boss. And it was terrifying. But I think the fact that I did it and then went traveling, and that was a great distraction. And then whilst traveling, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do when I came back. Nothing. I had a few ideas like, oh, I could go into beauty. I could maybe become a PT. I could set up a campsite. I had loads of ideas. And then I think it must have been the last kind of leg of the traveling experience that I decided, yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to retrain to be a personal trainer. And a good friend of one of my best friend, Laura, a good friend of hers, a lady called Claire, she had recently done the same thing. She had given up her career to then retrain to be a personal trainer. So I got some advice from her about that transition, and I spoke to you about it, and then found myself someone to study with. Obviously, money was tight, so I just had to opt for like the cheapest company so I could get a qualification. Probably not the best way to do it, but hey ho. I won't mention them now.
I mean, the fitness industry as a whole needs upregulating, but that's a different podcast for a different day. But anyway, yes.
And then started studying. And then I realised, like, okay, you're back in your house, so you're now paying your mortgage again and your council tax and your 50,000 bills, so you need an income. So then I decided I was going to become a supply teacher because that pays okay and no real commitment with that. And I could do that around my studying. And then whilst on the phone to one of my local head teachers here about whether they had any work for me, she said that a good friend of hers needed a teacher. So she said, go and just have a chat with her. I was like, oh, I can't work full time. I need time to study. I didn't want a commitment of a teaching post, but it was temporary. And I went and spoke to her and just clicked with her. And I was like, do you know what? I can do this. This can work. So long story short, I started working just before Christmas, the week before the Christmas holiday. And I did full time for that week. And then in January, my job share started. And I'm so lucky to be working for who I work for. She's a fantastic boss. And to go from being a head to being a teacher is interesting. But luckily, like, she totally gets me. And I don't ever want to be a head again. So there's no treading on her toes. And she knows, she gets that I'm bossy and stuff as well. She's cool with that. She's hopefully. So I've got a nice steady income from 3 days a week of teaching, enough to, well, barely enough, because from when I was a head to now teaching 3 days a week, basically I'm on a third of what my headship salary was, but it's just about enough to pay the bills. And luckily James has got a good job full time. So, you know, we can get by. And then started studying. And initially the first module was all about the anatomy. And that is not my thing. Like, again, I probably should admit this. Like, I didn't even know what the quads were, the quadriceps, and where the hamstrings were. And like, I knew biceps. I think that was about all I knew. Didn't even know triceps, right? So I was like blown. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. And I don't have the best memory either, Ollie. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like retain any of this stuff. So anyway, long story short, I persevered, stuck with it, passed level 2, and then I've more or less passed level 3, other than the final assessment, face-to-face assessment. I've done everything else. And it's been incredible. Like, I've learned so, like, you taught me tons, like loads, about nutrition. Obviously, you didn't teach me about the anatomy. Wish you had. But you taught me tons about nutrition, and it just deepened that understanding further. Like, you were telling me what to do, but not necessarily why. So I have a deep understanding of that, and that's improved my relationship with food further. And yeah, so it's been fascinating. So since studying, I've then applied everything. And in the short amount of time that I've been doing this course, like since November, I've lost over 1.5 stone.
Amazing.
By just applying it to myself. And even that to me is a massive achievement, because I never thought, like, it's hard to train yourself. Like, it's hard to eat the right foods for you and to know what you should be eating and to be able to lose the weight. So the fact that I've done that for myself is like ace. And then because of lockdown, I just started experimenting with doing some online classes for like a little group of friends and their children, and then a family group, which grew and grew. And then I finally decided, like, what's stopping me from actually just launching my business page, like on social media. And I went and had, again, another really good friend of mine, Leanne, her husband's an accountant. So I went and met with him and had a free consultation with him. And he was like, so he gave me loads of like financial advice and how to set the business up from that side of things. And then I just set up my social media pages, like not last weekend, weekend before, like boom, done. Terrifying.
That's such a cool journey, and let's just, I want to go back a few steps in the sense of, so like straight off the bat, when changing or transitioning careers, don't dive in the deep end without learning to swim first. Do you know what I mean? And I think even if I could go back in time as a young, 17-year-old personal trainer, like I would have a job first before being self-employed, because being solo income on just on any, when you're self-employed with starting from scratch, it's really hard, and the stress outweighed the reward of the job sometimes. So that transition is smart, and to anyone listening, probably make that transition. from full-time to part-time. And then and like you say, once you've got look, everyone has to, everyone has to pay the bills. Do you know what I mean? Like that doesn't change. So you need something, and something stable and regular to cover that. So make sure that's covered, and then anything else you can save, you can then reinvest and so forth. So that's key. I think the transition into what you're doing now is amazing. And yeah, like it's just exciting to see the growth. This is the start of an exciting journey for you. And we will, I'll get you on the podcast in a year's time, and the growth then will be completely different to what it is, from now to last year. And that's what it's all about. It's just about enjoying the journey and pursuing it, and actually having that courage which you've done and you've taken. And that's what's so amazing. Just on the anatomy there, I still don't know what biceps and triceps and quadriceps and all of these other muscles are. I pretend that I know, but really I don't really know. But it's so funny because I actually have a client, Leona, at the moment, who is in a similar position. She's just completed her level 2, and she was, relaying to me all the anatomy stuff she was learning. I was like, I can't help you with this. I can't remember about the heart capillaries and all the nerves and like, but you know, I'm not selling myself here. But no, like it's just, I mean, that's why I deal with the mindset stuff anyway. Like it's just, but no, honestly, like you don't need to know it all. You just need to obviously ensure you're competent and whatnot, but you get what I'm saying. Like it's just enjoy that struggle
Yeah.
learning, because here's the thing, like one thing I've learned is the learning never ends. Do you know what I mean? I think that the subject of what you're learning will change. And certainly as I've gone through my PT career, it's gone from, training nutrition to real mindset stuff. But that's a journey in itself, and that's experience in itself. And yeah, I'm super excited.
It was
So
nice to hear you say earlier. Sorry, Pixie's now jealous that she's not on the windowsill, so she's going up. So that means Bentley has to go up. Hey.
three amigos.
Earlier you said, like, it's not just about exercising and it's not just about your nutrition, because actually at the end of the day you'll become a life coach for people. That's so reassuring to hear, because it's so nerve-wracking trying to write programs for people, trying to support people with nutrition, which I must admit has been the hardest bit so far. Like that's been where I've had like barriers from people. Like there's been a bit of a block. People are more than willing to exercise, they want that, but they're not so willing to take on nutrition advice. And that's been a challenge actually. And I'm really glad I've had this kind of like practice run by trying to support people with that for free before, during the start of lockdown, so that I can kind of bear that in mind for now when I start working properly with people. But to hear that actually it's about your life experiences and apply that into being, a great life coach, that's so reassuring to hear, because I do worry that fresh out of training, like, oh my God, how can I compete with someone that's got like 30 years experience in a profession? Who's ever going to want to come to me?
Okay, cool. So a couple things. First of all, to the listeners, it's never about training and it's never about nutrition. Yes, you have to eat to a diet and you have to do amount of exercise to lose weight, right? But you, A, as the coach, and B, as the person trying to lose weight, you have to go one level behind that. You have to look at what's affecting someone's ability to stick to their diet and exercise plan. And this is where mindset comes in. Now, mindset's an umbrella term, but you've got to consider motivation. You then got to consider what motivates someone and what demotivates someone. You then got to consider willpower. So like one thing which has been really quite outstanding within the academy students right now is actually hearing of and learning of the lack of support they're getting from their partners and their family. And we need to understand that that's on an unconscious level affecting someone's ability to lose weight. So to the listeners, if you're struggling to lose weight right now, go beyond the scope of a diet and a training plan, because it goes beyond the scope of a diet and training plan. And as I believe, change your mindset, change your life. In relation to how you can support your clients more, it's just like understand, like if they can know that you're there to help them. Here's the thing, right? There's a couple things that I believe in as the role of a coach. One, be the reason someone smiles today, and two, you may be the best hour of their day. That PT session, that coaching call, you just being in their life right now may be the reason why someone hasn't given up, and that's a responsibility for you to take on board. But that's a rewarding one. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, I've learned that everyone is fighting a battle I know nothing about. I want to learn about it so I can help them, but like everyone's fighting a battle. And really, sometimes if someone's stripped away of everything, they may just have the gym. They just may have themselves, their training, their exercise to keep them going. So that's what it's about. I believe is just going a few layers deeper, and just being the support, right? Because and just finally there, when you're worried about comparing, the comparison game is a loser's one. There are no winners in that, right? Well, like we have 16 students to date in the academy right now. Well, why have they come to me? It's not because I'm special. It's just because I know I can help them, and I've been able to communicate that I can help them, and I am helping them, right? Yeah, they could go to someone with 30 years experience, right? But it's not about that. It's actually about being relatable and actually, again, you've got invaluable life experiences that you can't get in a qualification. You can't even get with experience. Your life experience have happened to you, and now they're going to happen for you as a result of what you've learned along the way. And that's the same for everyone listening as well, is you can either be defined by your struggles, or you can define the struggles in your life. That's literally it. It's the victim mentality, or the sort of leader mentality. And I think I'm trying to become more of a leader, not only with the academy, but as a coach as well. And that's the position you're now adopting. So that's what's so exciting to see. Tell me, what is the biggest thing that you hope to achieve as a coach?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's a big question.
I basically want to do for people what you did for me, to be honest. That sounds really, really corny, but I want to help people feel healthier, fitter, and happier. And I know like it's so much broader than that, but to try and sum it up, that's basically what I do. Like, people will look for a personal trainer, nutritional therapist, life coach for a reason. So if you can then help to improve their lives, then that is like the best outcome possible.
And that right there is why you're going to be an incredible personal trainer. That's it. So yeah, Carly, thank you so much for your time on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Where can the listeners find out more about the work that you're doing?
So my social media pages on Instagram and Facebook is just Carly Wicks Fitness and Nutrition. And if you want to find out about my travels, which have obviously come to an end at the minute, it's again, Instagram and Facebook is the Wixie Wanderers. The Wixie Wanderers. So yeah.
I'll write that one down in the show notes. My final question, and then I'll let you go because I've taken enough of your time. What is one thing the listeners can do that will have the greatest impact on their health and happiness?
I think have the courage to take risks in life and to make that change.
And there you go, guys. Carly, thank you so much for your time. And until next time, stay healthy, be happy, take care.